G'day Explorers. So I've been getting asked a lot of questions about what I've done to my car in all the different areas. So I thought, seeing as it's been a bit of a wet weekend, I'll do a rig rundown for you guys. So what I'm going to do, because the last one I filmed ended up being pretty long, went for about 30 to 40 minutes. I'm going to try and shorten this one down, but I'm going to do it in sections around the car. So in the About Me section, I'll actually have the breakdown points. So if you want to skip ahead and just find out certain parts, you can just click on it and it'll take you there. So Ash has been nice enough to help us out. She's going to be filming for me. Don't want to be on camera today, but she's going to film. So I'll chuck it over to her and we'll start the rundown. Ash just pointed out, I said the About Me section, it's in the description. But anyway, you guys know where it goes. Okay, so let's get into it. Bull bar and recovery. So what I've got here is the MCC, it's their deluxe one. I think it's the Phoenix bar, but basically you get the air vents like the pretty much a rip-off of the ARB bar. What's really handy, you can actually get in there to get to your winch and put it on free spool. So running their bull bar, because I got the base model Mazda, I don't actually have any of the sensors, but really I find them to be a pain. Comes with fog lights, I had to get them wired up as the car didn't have foggies. Driving lights as well. And then yeah, under here is my winch. So I'll go into that. It's a 10S Evo winch. So I decided, you know, you pay this money for the winch and you want it to work. You want it to be there for when you need it. So Warn, everyone knows it's the best. Yeah, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg, but that's because it's going to work when you need it. So Warn winch in there. And then I just got a couple of the heavy duty MCC recovery points, which as you can see, they bolt on in many bloody places. So I don't think they're coming off. Haven't had to use the winch yet, haven't had to use the recovery points, I can't tell you too much about it, but hopefully when I do need it, it'll work. Onto the suspension and side steps. So I went a 2-inch lift. Everyone keeps telling me it looks like it's a 3, I don't know, maybe they stuffed it up and went a little bit high, but it's meant to be a 2-inch. So I also went upper control arms with that, which are PSR upper control arms. Highly recommend doing upper control arms. What this will do, when they're doing the wheel alignment, it'll mean they can get 100% correct. Make sure they're adjustable as well. And on my MP300, I didn't have upper control arms, and the inside of my tyre got worn out. Basically within 10,000 Ks, I had to swap my tyres. So highly recommend spend a couple $100, put the upper control arms on. They're Outback Armour springs and shockies, so I really rate it. Yeah, there's no remote res, but I don't do enough of the Outback corrugated roads to need remote reservoir, so I didn't want to waste my money. Ran them on my MP as well. I do have to say I noticed a bigger difference in the MP upgrade than the Mazda upgrade. Don't know if that's because the Ford suspension is better than the Nissan, but yeah, they're really good shocks and I'm happy with it and they haven't let me down. What else have I got under there? So then the side steps, we'll keep moving our way down the car. They're just off-road armour, so fairly new brand, based up of North Brisbane, and then I got these down at the Gold Coast. So they're actual proper rock sliders and side steps. They do sit fairly low, but I wanted to be able to use them as side steps, not your traditional rock sliders that are on angle and aren't actually very good. Because as you've seen, Ash isn't the tallest, and she needs a step to get in the car. No comments, Ash?
No.
Okay, moving through to the back suspension. So again, Outback Armour, leaf spring. What I do have is, because of the weight of the canopy, it's about, when it's fully loaded, about 700 kilos. So I didn't want the car to be absolutely heavy and rigid when the canopy's not on, so I didn't want to go heavy springs. Also, if you do that, then your rear shockies will top out as you're driving and you could damage them. So only way around that, I went airbags, airbag man of course, and just in the rear, and that way when the canopy's on, put some pressure in there and jack them back up, and had no problems with that. I'm also running, if Ash gets in nice and close there, so that's Superior Engineering chassis bracing, and that's because I copped a fair bit of slack for putting on the airbags and how much overhang I've got. Everyone said my chassis was going to snap, so I thought, okay, it may do. I I've never heard of it happening, but I figured let's be safe, put the chassis bracing on, and that'll stop it. I've had no cracks, no nothing. Take it fairly easy in the car, as you guys see. Not into absolutely pounding it and breaking things. It's cost me a lot of money, so I take care when I'm driving. Okay guys, tyres and engine mods. So I'm running, these are RTs, so more popular in the US. They're basically a mix between an all-terrain and a full mud tyre. So they're basically, I call them an aggressive all-terrain tyre. Absolutely blown away. They're really good. They don't have as hard a sidewall as your full muddies. So when you go on the beach, they will actually flare out a bit for you. And they're just a Toyo open country. So really recommend them. And then I'm running them in a 285, 75, 16. So it's basically just under 33 inch in the old scale. So no problem there with the fit. Mazdas and Fords are really good for putting bigger tyres. At work we get a hell of a lot of cars come in that the tyres just don't fit. So make sure you check your car that they're going to fit 33s without cutting, because if you do end up having to cut into your chassis, you have to get it mod plated. But I've had no problem, as you can see. I can actually go bigger. So down the track I may put bigger on. But so about 33s. In the engine, haven't done too much. The Fords actually have pretty big motors in them, so that's why I got it. This is one of the 3.2 litre motors, not the new ones that are twin turboed, and I deliberately wanted this before they got rid of them. So all I've had to do is your pre-line water filter for your fuel. I've chucked one of those in, so that's up the back there, Ash, if you want to show them. And that'll actually give you a little warning light that's underneath my steering wheel. So if I do put fuel in, turn the car on, the warning light will light up and I can just basically dump the fuel. So I really recommend them. Good kitty gear. And then just also put on a catch cam over here. So HPD, really impressed with it. It looks really slick, and the upside is it'll actually give you a little dipstick so you can see how much is in there. I watched my mechanic drain it the other day, and all he did was just suck in a pump and suck out all the oil, and there's a hell of a lot of dirty shit that goes in there. So if you buy a brand new car, well worthwhile putting one of those on to stop the dirty oil going back through your engine. Okay, we're on to Canopy and the Awnings. So I'll start with the Canopy. Custom made. I gave them all the measurements, just done in Brizzy at PT Canopies. So I was basically looking in the market at all the different ones. Didn't want to pay $10,000 for one. I think this ended up costing me $5 grand, and it's got the step on the back, spare wheel holder and jerry can holder, and it's a jack on and off version. So I went 1800 long by 1800 wide, and then what I actually did, I measured the height of the cab, and I wanted this to finish in line with the cab. So very different look to what everyone else is running. I think everyone else is running 900s, 850s, where this is basically, I think it's 810, maybe even a little bit smaller. But yeah, as I said, I wanted it to be streamlined. One, to help me cut down on fuel. As you know, as soon as you start modifying cars, your fuel goes through the roof. So last thing I wanted was a big, massive wind resistor on there. So that way the wind continues on nicely, flows across. And also I just didn't like that look of a big bulky thing on the back of it. What it has done, it's mean that my opening is actually a little bit smaller. So to fit different stuff in, I run into trouble. So if I was gonna do an upright fridge, I'd definitely run into trouble. Some of the drawers I've bought just don't fit. But other than that, I'm really happy with it. Then I put on a roof rack on it as well, just so I can mount stuff. I think that's a 210 millimeter one, so 2 meters, 10 centimeters. Happy with that. Chuck solar panel up there, chuck my max tracks up there, and then yeah, you can run the awnings. And then the awnings, what we've got is your bat wing by, who's it by, Ash?
Rhino Rack.
That's it, by Rhino Rack. Too many thoughts in my head at the moment, trying to run through everything that I've done to the car. So by Rhino Rack, we actually used to think it was really shit because the joints would snap really easy. And what they've actually done, they've made them out of plastic, so it's a weak point. So if the wind grabs it, they snap, and the kits only cost you $12 and you get 2 of them. Did used to think it was really punishing and annoying. till we had wind grab the other awning on the other side that I'll show you, and it's bent everything. So pretty much need to replace the whole awning. Versus this one, 10 bucks to fix it. So I actually got to give him credit, and I was talking to the rep about it last week, and yeah, he was filling me in on why they did it. They are in the process of making them a little bit stronger. They tried metal, but then all your legs broke. So they want to stick with plastic, but they're just going to make them a bit stronger. So that's your full 180 degrees. We'll walk around. Nice good coverage, as you can see. It does get affected by the wind a fair bit, so make sure if you get one, you do peg it down. Then on the other side, I just grabbed just a cheapy BCF awning, just a straight pull out. I think that's the 2.5 or 3 meter one, can't remember. And yeah, it's pretty handy, but as I said, it did get bent and buckled when the wind grabbed it, opposed to just those hook braking. But we do use this one a little bit more than the back wing because it is easier to set up. I may down the future, once that sort of gets too old and ruined, it is actually ashes, so it'll probably make me replace it. But once that does get worn out, we'll probably look at a freestanding one because it'll just be easier to set up. Okay, inside the canopy and the water tank. So I am running, I think it's around a 75 litre water tank. So Ash will show you, she'll get underneath and show you where I've mounted it. Nice and high up on the tray there. So under tray, hasn't taken up any space that I don't need. Really happy with where they located it. That was just done by Iron Man. And then what we've got up here is just your standard outlet. So I've just chucked on tap one, and then I've got a hose which I connect to my shower. And then your breather and your refills are in there. And then for my power into the canopy, this is pretty cool. Just got that off eBay. So full weatherproof when I'm not using one of the plugs. So that's my solar one. I've actually got a mud guard and then my main power coming in, but it's all sealed up, waterproof, no water will get in there, no dust. Let's show you the main bit, what's inside the canopy. So I'll start on one side and then take you around the other. So this is our gas hot shower. Massively rate this. This was a game changer. So it's a lithium batteried one and runs on little gas cylinders at the back. So Ash should be able to get in there and show you the little gas cylinder down the bottom. So you can just plug one of those butane bottles into it, or you can run it off your main gas tank. And then it's actually got a fitting where you can connect it up to just a garden hose or your mains pressure. So I just run a hose from that tap into the back of it, and then my main shower one up. The thing in it, basically all you do is turn it on, and then as long as there's water flow, it'll turn the gas on. It'll have your temperature that you've got the water coming out at, and it'll control it and sit at that temperature. And then on the end of the nozzle, there's an on-off latch, which is nice and simple because as soon as you turn it off, that'll disengage. So no having to get out of the shower tent to turn it on and off, just flip that. Highly recommend that Companion. They've got a new model out now, which I will upgrade, but I'm in no rush to get rid of this because it's not causing me any problems. Then, as you guys would know, my favourite thing, the oven. You guys have seen lots of my videos, Companion as well, rate that company, they do a lot of good stuff. The stove on it, as I've mentioned, not the best because it's got the regulator for the oven, but happy to deal with that to have the oven. Then we've just got box of toys, so this is all our board games and stuff. Try not to take technology when we go away and just have some fun and play board games. So I did all the timber myself, didn't do marine ply, was a bit of a tight ass, and just went standard ply. Probably should have because it's been wet a couple of times and starting to swell in some places. If you see here, it's starting to swell and chip. So if you're going to do it, spend the money, do marine ply, then just put marine carpet over the top. So really handy. Was looking at aluminium, but just went the upside to timber. I can literally screw fittings wherever I wanted to, take them out, you don't even know they were there. So highly recommend the timber. Just got our table at the back, then all the bits and pieces that sort of float around. The main guts that everyone's interested in, I did go into this a little bit in one of my other videos, is my battery chargers. So Enerdrive, which is the best there is. And I sort of did some calculations. People who know me well will know that when I go into something, I spend a lot of time researching. So I calculate up each component that is on their DC-DC board and literally it would have been apples for apples. If someone had bought those components, fitted it to a board and installed it, it would have cost the same as for me to get Enerdrive to basically do it on that DIY board and me just buy it. So ended up doing that, knowing that I could just bolt it on myself and plug it in. So literally what you see there is what you get from Enerdrive. They ship it out to you and it's all ready to go. All we have to do is plug your main power in, plug your solar in. And that gives you the 40 plus amp hour DC-DC charger. And then it also gives you your 40 amp hour AC charger, all your safety switches. Also gives you a nice big Anderson plug for if you want to do an inverter down the track. All you have to do is plug that straight in. But yeah, all safety switched, everything all nice and neat. So really happy with that. Give you a little gauge as well, but the lithium battery, if you buy their lithium battery, there's an app and it tells you all the information on the app. So you don't actually need the gauge. But out of everything I've done, be my favorite mod. We went from Ingle battery box, which couldn't keep up with the fridge, with the amount charger was charging up, to this, and this thing's amazing. We haven't dropped below 70% because all I do is turn the car on and boom, charges it back up. Or the solar panel, as soon as the sun comes out, it's charged before we get out of bed. Highly recommend that, their gear. Ash, let's go around to the other side. While we're here, just running an ARB cargo bag. Ash actually got this for my birthday. I know, really weird, get someone a garbage bin for their birthday. She got a fair bit of shit for that.
Fancy garbage bag.
But I have to say, this thing is an absolute fucking nightmare to put on the wheel. I don't know if they all are. This is the first one I've run. But it took 3 people about an hour to put it on the first time. And then Ash and I tried to do it at Fraser Island, ended up flipping completely upside down and we lost rubbish on one of the tracks. So, have to say there must be an easier way to fit this because I actually use my spare wheel a lot. As soon as I get sort of 5,000 Ks, I'll take the spare off and rotate my tyres. So last thing I want to be doing is having to spend an hour trying to put this back on just to use my spare wheel. So don't know, you guys let me know if there's some easier one out there because I'd love to swap from this. Then yeah, the jerry can holder, ladder to get up the top. We'll open up this side. So I've just mounted the gas bottle so it's nice and safe. Would have loved it at the front, but wanted to keep it away from the electronics. Obviously, there's probably not going to be a spark, but if there is, don't want gas anywhere near it. Then I just got these drawers. So I originally got the drawers from down at Yatla at Mates Rates, and they were really good. Their products are unbelievable. The runners were really good, but I had the problem with the roof. I couldn't get it through this hole. It would fit inside, but I couldn't get it through the lip. So basically I laid it down, couldn't get it up right. So then we end up finding these ones, one of your tool shops, I think like Trade Tools, yeah, something like that. Ash went and picked them up for me, and they're really good as well. I have had a little bit of problem with rust. So when we went to Fraser, as you can see, they've started to get a bit corroded and one of the locks just broke off. So I'm not sure how long they'll last with salt weather. Obviously they're not 4-wheel drive ones, they're more tool ones. Then my fridge, so I've just got the Titan fridge slide. Didn't want to waste money on a fridge slide, just figured, you know, they're all pretty much the same. Have had a little bit of dramas with it, but that's what you get for the money, and it cost me next to nothing. So running the 75 litre Waco fridge, dual press air compressor. Anyway, no, not air compressor, but dual motors in it. And what that means is I can actually have full fridge on one side, full freezer on the other. So they're really big components, as you can see. That gets up there. Each one of those is its own special compartment. So we generally run the bigger one as the fridge and the smaller one as a freezer. And if we're not using it as a freezer, we'll turn it into a pantry and set the temperature at about 10 degrees so everything doesn't melt. So I can put like chocolate and biscuits and stuff in there and they don't get ruined. Definitely rate that, but it does chew a fair lot of power having the two motors in it. So if you've got a good battery setup, worthwhile going one of these. I don't know how people do it without a freezer. As soon as we do a 4-day trip, if we don't have a freezer, we're going to run out of food and you're going to have to try and get it somewhere. So to anyone that's running their fridges with just that little freezers, good on you. The upright fridges, don't know how you do it. The freezers in those are tiny. But yeah, really rate that. And then that's about it for in here. I've done just BCF lights. Really hard to get those to work because only on one side I could get the double-sided adhesives to stick. On the other side they gave way, and then we couldn't find any glue that would stick to the aluminium, and ended up with shit all over the sides trying to get them to stick. So now I've ended up just cable tying them onto here, and it's broken those on that side. So eventually I'll upgrade the lights. I just don't know what to yet because it is really hard to figure out how to mount them on these doors. But that's it for the inside. The only thing left to show you is the inside of the car. Okay, the inside, not too much happening here. I haven't really altered much of it. The only thing I've really got is your GME XRS UHF. Really good, top of the range, but again, anything to do with safety, I go top of the range because you want it to work when you need it. I did go, I think it's the 70, which I didn't need to. I went, oh cool, it's got a big speaker at the back, that way I'll be able to hear it. But you actually mount the thing at the back of all your stuff here, behind the head unit sort of thing, so you're not going to hear the speaker, and these are loud enough. So I think it's the 30 is probably worthwhile getting. Then that just plugs into a GME portal there, so we can take that in and out, but I just sit it there. Every now and then I get bored and I turn it on and like to listen to the truckers. And then my switch panel, Ash will show you that. So in all your new modern cars, your switches are a real pain. There's nowhere to put them. Basically, I ended up with one switch. If you go in there, Ash, one switch plate is all Mazda gives you, so not really going to be good enough. And on there I've just got the switch for the water pump. I've got an isolator for the winch. What are you doing? And then I've got, I think Ash is getting bored. And then I've got my front diff lock pre-wired up. I've been waiting for that to come for a while. Unfortunately, with all the stuff going on in the USA, haven't been able to get one in. I'm going to be going an electric, not a air one, because I just don't want the air hoses, air problems, stuff like that. Then your fog lights is the only other thing I've got switched up there, because I didn't have fog lights standard and I wanted them, so I just got a switch put in. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole rundown of the car. Hope you guys enjoyed it. The only other mod I've done, I've just seen it, is I moved my rear diff breather, which anyone who follows me on Instagram would have seen when I did that. They had an absolute shit house spot down the bottom here, right in front of the tyre. So as soon as any water got thrown, it went straight onto it, mud went straight onto it, and I just went, oh fuck that, I'm gonna put it at the top. Mind the language, guys, sorry, I'm an Aussie, we do swear. But yeah, that's pretty much everything. Thanks to Ash for letting me use her dressage arena for the day to film and help me out filming. I'll go edit this and chuck it up for you guys. See ya.